Hi, everybody. So week 4, we are here. I'm going to cover quite a bit in this video, and I'm going to try and keep it short, but I can't promise. I'm recording this on Zoom, and I have to admit that I had several other videos planned and actually created. But I was using this other software that I have used like many times, this other platform, and I think they updated it or did something, and it has not been working, and it has cost me like literally hours in time and video and content, and it has been driving me mad. And yet I don't know why I didn't just go, oh, I can just record these on Zoom. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And this is what happens, technology. You try and wrangle it until you go, that's not working. And I can't fix it. So I'm going to use something that should have been really obvious from the start, but somehow wasn't. So in any case, I'm not going to dwell on that, but suffice it to say, videos should be more timely. The other thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of timeliness are deadlines and other things for this week. So I'm going to share my screen now because I can do that on Zoom. And I'm going to show you week 4 in review. Okay, so I'm in the module, right, for week 4. I'm going to do this actually from a student view so that we all see the same things. Okay, so week 4 in review. I am behind on giving you feedback for the proposal, and I'm actually gonna give you some suggestions here in this video. So, make sure you watch the whole thing because there's a bunch of stuff that I'm going to be going over, okay? So I'm behind on giving feedback. I was going to get it all done today, and I'm still planning on trying to do that. But I just decided I'm going to push the deadline to Friday. I was thinking, oh, I'll just push to Tuesday. You know what? Let's just make it Friday. From what I've seen so far about everybody's work that I've been reviewing, everybody seems to be, in a good place, just really needing to focus the attentions and sort of the angles, which really is mostly can be done. You can really only figure that out by doing it, which you have been doing it. And I think as you go back and you revise your proposal now, you're going to go, oh, right, now I get this. And you're going to see some ways to make your blog proposal even more specific to what you want to do. So I'm going to just go ahead and push that deadline to Friday, but you can also turn it in earlier if you want to just complete it and get it done. The work breakdown for the week that I suggest is definitely sign up for one-on-one conferences on Calendly, like now, ASAP, okay? Already, I've got people that have been signing up, which is great. So go ahead and get those conferences set up, okay? If you have any issues with timing, please let me know and I'll try and adjust the time. But now is, we're in week 4, so now's the time to kind of gather it all together, okay? Week 4 pre-conference and questions, which is here, is basically I know that deadlines have changed. I changed another deadline today. There's a lot of content in the class. Some people turned in things late, and so we're not assigned peer reviews. I'm trying to continue to go over that and grasp who's turned in what and who hasn't. But it would be useful to me if you also, and useful to you, if you go through your weeks 1 through 3 and you kind of go through what have you completed, what do you still have left to complete, what is outstanding, do you need a peer review and did you not get one, did you not do one, put that down here so we can kind of try and figure out how you might be able to get a review if you need one, or to do one, or to just make sure you are able to make up any content that you have not yet done. Okay. Are you confused on any assignments? Which ones? What is confusing to you? What are you enjoying about the class so far? What, if anything, has been surprising to you that you've learned? And as we head into this second half of the session, what are you looking forward to? And what do you need clarity on? So this is helpful for you to just kind of do a little check back in on your work as we are asynchronous, right? And as we move into week 4 and we have these one-on-one conferences, we only have 20-25 minutes. That's not a ton of time for us to go over, any either your review or your list cycle or your blog or your podcast or or any of this. So it's not a ton of time. So I want you to come to your conference prepared. If you come to your conference prepared, we'll go over everything. You'll be like set to go. If you come to your conference and you just don't know, then we'll just get done what we can. Okay. So try and complete this and complete it early on so you know where you're at. Okay. Then we're moving into podcasting. Okay. And the first thing you're going to do is a podcast episode analysis. And there's a ton of podcasts, right? Like podcasts are just gigantic. And we can see here, it says there are more than 4.1 million podcasts out there, right? That's just from Podcast Index. And then Apple Podcasts lists 2.6, Spotify says 5.5. I mean, there's just so much what we can just really call audio content out there, or sonic content out there, right? So what I want you to do is just like start to research podcasts, right? And you might already be a podcast listener or not, but start to check them out on any platform that you like, okay? But what I want you to do is, for this particular assignment, is once you do some research and kind of like get an idea of what podcasts are and what they're doing and what I want you to do is to focus your analysis of an episode found on a Substack account, okay? And so, here you can look. Substack has a page just about podcasting and what they offer, and here they have different podcasters. They also have, I've given you a leaderboard, which is different podcasts that are like the top podcasts on Substack. You can also do a search for podcasts on Substack, and you can also go like, okay, I want a podcast about like ice cream. Are there? I don't know. Okay, I guess not, because that's kind of weird, right? To be honest. Well, actually, ice cream for lunch. This is ice cream for lunch, and a newsletter about an adult realizing ice cream can be lunch and dinner parties can be fun. Okay. That's what I'm saying. There can be a podcast about literally anything, and it looks pretty active. Interesting. Lisa in Vancouver. Okay, great. Love it. Okay, it's not really about ice cream. It's a food blog, right? Which is actually apropos, because I'm going to talk about food blogs in a minute too, and just blogs in general. So, you have I've given you different options of places to find Substack podcasts. I would suggest that you find a podcast and a podcast episode that has to do with the subject that you are looking into in your own blog, right? Because what will that do? Well, it will just help you. It'll help you figure out maybe some ideas about what you might want to focus on and how you might do your own podcast. If you are focusing on ice cream or a food blog, but you also like sports, well, that's great. And you could look at a sports podcast episode on Substack, but I'm not sure if that's going to be as useful for you. Although it might be, who knows? Because really what it's about anyways is about figuring out how to structure a podcast and then how to fill it with content. So it might be equally useful for you to look at, how does this sports podcast structure its episode and its script? And then how might I use that for my ice cream blog? Okay. So once you listen to a podcast episode or after, complete the following questions. So first you want to make a list here, and then you want to write a time breakdown of the segments. So you think about the segments as an intro, the drop, what it is. They might have advertising. Hitting the beach is a segment, the humor bit is a segment, then there's a sign off, then you want to describe the tone of the podcast episode, and then you want to read about different types of podcast formats and reformat that potential podcast. Okay, so that is what you will do in your podcast episode analysis. And then you're going to brainstorm your own podcast. Okay, you're going to start to get your own ideas going on. So in this discussion forum, you're going to give a post by Friday, and then you're going to give feedback to 2 of your fellow writers by Sunday, so you can keep rolling on this thing. So offer them 1 to 3 short sentences describing your Substack blog, which you should have from your proposal in your abstract. You should be able to pull out the title of your blog and give them a couple sentences. This is a blog about ice cream. Maybe the blog title is The Joy of Ice. This is a blog about ice cream and eating ice cream in California as someone from the Midwest. I don't know. I just made that up. Okay. But that's a podcast somewhere, somehow. And then you're going to think about the different categories of podcast that you might, that you are interested in. Okay. And you'll go to these Apple Podcast categories because they have a good listing of categories and what a category is. And so it's helpful to think about a category because you can say, okay, just like you're considering, okay, this is my audience, I'm going to direct my thinking towards them. Same way you can think about a category. And down here are different kinds of categories, right? There's arts categories, there's business categories, comedy, education, fiction, government, blah, 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 right? Tons of categories. So a category will help as a content creator. If you have a podcast and you want to put the podcast somewhere, be it on Apple or be it on Substack, you need to know what category it's going to go into. So if it's sports, then it's going to go under sports. And then you'll have your subcategories, right? It'll be sports, it'll be hockey in Milwaukee, that rhymes. It'll be women's hockey in Milwaukee, those are my categories, right? And then if you're ice cream, right, in California, it'll be ice cream, food, travel. It could be, I don't know, various categories, right? So it's important to have those categories because that's how people find your podcast. It also helps you to define what category am I in? What category is this blog, is this content in, right? So then I want you to do this reading, okay, which are the 8 types of podcasts. There's more, but this is very useful. It's a very useful reading to understand the different kinds of podcasts, okay? And the types of podcasts that there are, right? And so when you're reading this, you'll there's some that are conversational, there's monologues, there's storytelling or investigative, lots of different types of podcasts. And you will know from the research that you did before on your podcast episode analysis, you will be more familiar with these different podcasts, and you'll be able to go, oh, that's that type of podcast. That's that type of podcast. Okay. And I may try and do another video that is more specifically on podcasts. I mean, I think that would make sense. So I just wanted to give you a general kind of idea as I'm going over this. So this is the way that you can start to come up with your own idea for your podcast. Okay. And then once you have these interests, right, then you will also give each other feedback. You'll start to see what each other are doing, and that can also help develop and shape your idea. Okay. So we have that. And then we have your notebook which is due on Sunday, but I really suggest you do this throughout the week because it's going to be very useful to you in helping to shape your ideas. So first, you're going to start by playing around with recording your voice, recording a sound effect, playing around with this Audacity application. And this is a really great, straightforward video that you can watch to figure out how to use Audacity to record and edit. Okay. You should be able to upload your file to Canvas, but I'll figure that out if not. Okay. And then you're going to develop your idea and you are going to start to create a podcast script, okay, and a podcast episode outline. So that is what you will be doing this week, is beginning to develop your podcast, okay? The readings that are here in week 4 are all the readings that are within the bodies of the exercises. One thing that is really fun, actually, that I can't remember where this is this podcast name generator, which is super fun. So if I say like, my podcast is about ice cream in Milwaukee. Let's see what it says. I just made that up. Maybe it's like, that's so random. So, and then it just generates, different names that I could potentially use, right? What's this one? Ice Cream in Milwaukee podcast is a something or other, right? So I maybe didn't give them enough information. How about ice cream in Milwaukee? I don't know if I'm spelling that right. By a California native, by a vegan. Okay, now let's see. So interested. My vegan milk cream. Weird. The vegan cheese podcast. The vegan California. Salty A. Interesting. So clearly, I don't feel like any of these are quite right, right? Let's see. Let's see. Mellow milk tea. Kind of into that, even though it's not really milk tea. I like this though, maybe like band in Milwaukee, a vegan Californian, or a Californian looking for vegan ice cream. I don't know. I'm just making things up, right? And so my point is that sometimes you can be very narrow and you're going to kind of hit a wall, right? Other times, and let me do something that's maybe a little bit more general. I'm thinking about my daughter who's a teenager. So teenager, makeup, videos, but let's think of an angle, maybe like emo. I don't know. Let's see what happens. This seems very like TikTok, YouTube. So let's see what happens. The Girl Next Door podcast. Okay. Just the truth. Glamour, glamour, and glam. My makeup journey. Unfiltered makeup. The unofficial blank show. So these are all these are cute, right? Like I could pull something together from these suggestions, right? So have some fun with that. Play around, see if that's helpful to you, right? It might even help you develop your idea for your blog name too, okay? And then if you scroll down, there's actually more information. So best practices to use the podcast name generator. Yes, I did read this, but I wanted to just play with it first, which you can do as well. And then, it gives you some more information on how to choose a good podcast name. It gives you what they consider the best podcast names of 2021. That's useful, right? So a lot of different articles that can help you to think about how you might start your own podcast and get a name going. Okay, so that's a fun one that is in your readings here in week 4. All right. Okay.